When my wife called me on date night and said, "Don't worry about me, just go enjoy the game with your friends," I hung up and called the police. Because my wife would never say that. Not on a Friday, not on our date night, not in that flat, careful voice. The dispatcher actually chuckled. "Sir, most men would be thrilled with a night off. What's the emergency?" "My wife is in danger," I said sharply. "She would never tell me to go hang with my friends tonight. Something is wrong. I live in a rough part of town, and I knew from experience that if you don't say the magic words, they take their time. So I didn't wait. I hit 90 the whole way home. When I pulled up, there was a black van out front I didn't recognize. If she was in danger, kicking in the front door would only make it worse. So I went around the side, to the window of my home office, and eased it open as quietly as I could. I climbed in and held my breath, listening. I heard the tear of duct tape off a roll. Low voices I didn't know. I grabbed the heaviest thing within reach, a metal dumbbell from the corner, and crept into the hallway, gripping it, heart hammering. As I neared the living room, I heard my wife's terrified voice. "I don't know what my husband did to you, but please, whatever it is, don't take it out on me." That stopped me cold. Whatever this was, it was about me. What had I done to anyone? Then a second voice, almost gentle. "It's not your fault. You're just leverage. Bad timing. Once he pays, this is over." That voice snagged something in my memory. Familiar, from a long time ago, but I couldn't place it. I peeked around the corner, two men in ski masks, tying my wife to a kitchen chair. She was unharmed, just frightened. One of them was setting up a phone on a small tripod, and I understood. They wanted a video to send me, a ransom demand. They both had guns. I saw red, but I also had one advantage. They didn't know I was there. I waited until the one nearest me crouched to adjust the tripod, his back fully to me, and his gun set down on the coffee table beside him. Then I moved. I swung the dumbbell, not to kill, just hard enough across the shoulder and arm to drop him and knock the wind out of him, and I kicked his gun spinning under the couch before he could recover. The second man spun and fired. I dove sideways and felt something burn across my ribs, but the adrenaline swallowed the pain. Before he could aim again, I drove into him low, the way I'd half remembered from a wrestling class 2 decades ago, and slammed him into the wall. His gun clattered loose. We grappled. I'm no fighter, but I had rage and a wife tied to a chair 4 feet away, and that turned out to be enough to pin him and hold him down, shouting for my wife to stay still. That's when the front door finally banged open. The police, later than I'd have liked. But there, they took both men down, cuffed, alive. One of the officers pressed a towel to my side, where the graze had bled through my shirt more than I'd realized. I reached over and pulled the mask off the man I'd pinned, and my stomach dropped. Arthur, a guy I'd grown up with, hadn't seen him since we were kids. "Why?" was all I could get out. He wouldn't answer, but the detectives pieced it together later. Arthur and his partner ran a small ransom operation, targeting people, grabbing a spouse, forcing a quick payout before anyone could react. He'd picked me, it turned out, because of some grudge he'd nursed since middle school, some humiliation I barely remembered and he'd never let go of. 20 years he'd carried it, until it curdled into this. I woke up in the hospital the next day. The graze had needed stitches, but nothing worse. The doctor said a couple inches over, and it'd have been a very different story. My wife was in the chair beside my bed, unhurt, holding my hand so tight it ached. Arthur and his partner are both facing long sentences: kidnapping, extortion, attempted armed robbery. Neither of them is walking free for a very long time. The thing I keep turning over isn't the fight. It's that flat, wrong voice on the phone. "Go hang with your friends," and how close I came to shrugging and doing exactly that. My wife, tied to that chair, had risked everything to say the one sentence she knew would make me realize something was wrong. She trusted that I'd know her well enough to hear it. I almost didn't, but I did. We don't skip date night anymore, and I never, ever ignore that voice again.